at its peak, the Luxor was the most visited building in all of America. 30 million people a year came just to stand in its shadow and stare. Today, you can book a room inside that same pyramid for less than the price of a fast food meal for two. So, how does the most iconic building Las Vegas ever built go from wonder of the modern world to a hotel people only choose when everything else is too expensive? The beam shoots straight up into the desert sky every single night. You can see it from an airplane. You can see it from 275 miles away. On a clear night, pilots use it as a landmark. It is the most powerful beam of light on the planet. 315 xenon bulbs, each one brighter than most stadium lights, all aimed at a single point in the sky above a 30-story black glass pyramid sitting on the Las Vegas Strip. And the hotel it shines from? You can book a room there right now for $29 a night. That is Luxor. And something has gone very, very wrong. It was not always like this. There was a time when the Luxor was the hottest address in Las Vegas. A time when people did not book it because it was cheap. They booked it because it was the coolest building they had ever seen. Families drove across the desert just to walk through its doors. Travel magazines put it on their covers. Tourists who had never gambled a single dollar in their lives stood outside on Las Vegas Boulevard, craned their necks back, and felt their mouths fall open. At 30 stories tall, the pyramid stretched 646 feet along each side of its base. The atrium inside was so enormous that 9 Boeing 747s could be stacked inside it. Instead of normal elevators, guests rode machines called inclinators, cars that moved at a 39-degree angle up the slanted walls of the pyramid. Inside the lobby sat a full-scale reproduction of the Great Temple of Ramses II. A giant sphinx crouched out front, bigger than the one in Egypt. A replica of the tomb of King Tutankhamun sat tucked inside, filled with reproductions, if ye real, artifacts. The whole thing felt less like a hotel and more like a theme park wrapped around one of the greatest mysteries in human history. 30 million people came through in its first year alone. 30 million. That made it, at the time, the most visited building in the United States of America. More than the Statue of Liberty, more than the Empire State Building, more than any museum, any monument, any landmark in the country. A hotel shaped like a pyramid in the middle of the Nevada desert was the single most popular building in America. Now it charges $29 a night and hopes you do not notice the carpet. The year was 1988, and a man named Bill Bennett had a problem. Bennett ran Circus Enterprises, a casino company known mostly for cheap rooms, circus acts, and families with kids. Not exactly the glamorous end of the Vegas market. But Bennett was ambitious. He wanted to build something that would stop people from getting colds, something that had never been done before on the Strip. He kept coming back to one image, a pyramid, ancient, mysterious, impossible looking, and enormous. His team told him it could not be done. The engineering alone was a nightmare. A pyramid-shaped building means every floor gets smaller as you go up. The walls are not straight, they lean inward at a 39-degree angle. Rooms along the outside walls would have slanted ceilings and odd angles. Elevators could not travel in a straight vertical line. Every single design problem that a normal rectangular tower avoided, a pyramid made 10 times worse. Architects warned him. Engineers warned him. Bennett pushed forward anyway. Construction started in 1991. Workers poured the foundation for what would become a 30-story black glass pyramid covering 13 acres of land at the south end of the Strip. The price tag landed at $375 million, an enormous sum in 1991, roughly equivalent to $800 million today. The builders had to solve problems that had never been solved before in commercial construction. The inclinators, those angled elevator cars, had to be custom built because nothing like them existed. The atrium, spanning 29 million cubic feet of open air, required its own engineering team just to manage airflow and temperature. Workers finished in October 1993, and the Luxor opened on the 15th. The line to get inside stretched down the block. Guests walked through a massive entrance framed by hieroglyphs and golden statues. The ceiling soared above them, disappearing into darkness hundreds of feet up. The casino floor spread out across the base of the pyramid, ringed by hotel rooms stacked along the interior walls, each room with a window looking down into the atrium below. At night, the beam fired up for the first time, and people 30 miles away stopped their cars on the highway to look at the sky. For the first few years, it worked perfectly. Families came, young couples came, international tourists came. The Luxor was not trying to be sophisticated or upscale. It was trying to be jaw-dropping, and it was. The King Tut exhibit alone drew lines every single day. The inclinators became a novelty when people rode just for the experience. The Sphinx out front became one of the most photographed objects in Nevada. Luxor had found something rare in Las Vegas, a real identity that no one else could copy. But beneath all that success, the building itself was already quietly setting a trap. The shape that made the Luxor famous was the same shape that would slowly destroy it. When MGM Mirage acquired the property in 2005 as part of its purchase of Mandalay Resort Group, the company inherited not just a hotel, but a puzzle with no clean solution. The pyramid looked incredible from the outside. Inside, it was a nightmare to work with. The slanted outer walls meant that corner rooms had ceilings that came down at odd angles, cutting into usable floor space. Suites were difficult to design because furniture could not sit flush against exterior walls. Renovating the rooms meant working around a shape that fought every modern design trend. But the bigger problem was what surrounded Luxor on the rest of the Strip. In 2009, MGM opened City Center, a $9 billion complex featuring Aria, one of the most stunning luxury resorts ever built in Las Vegas. Suddenly, the Luxor was not just outdated, it was sitting next door to the future. Guests walking down the South Strip past Aria's gleaming curves, its modern art installations, its sleek restaurants. Then they walked past the Luxor and saw a building that had not been meaningfully updated in over a decade. MGM faced a choice: invest heavily and try to turn the Luxor into something competitive with Aria and Veer and the wave of luxury properties reshaping the Strip, or accept the pyramid for what it was and lower expectations and prices accordingly. A full renovation was estimated to cost over $300 million. And even then, no renovation could fix the fundamental awkwardness of the pyramid shape. You cannot add floors to a pyramid. You cannot expand the footprint outward. You are locked into the geometry of what was built in 1993. So, MGM made a different choice entirely. They stripped the theme. King Tut's tomb closed permanently in 2008. The Egyptian artifacts and reproductions disappeared. The hieroglyphs were quietly painted over or removed. The Luxor stopped being an ancient Egyptian pyramid and became something far harder to define, a pyramid-shaped building with no particular story left to tell. The restaurants got rebranded. The entertainment shifted toward nightclubs targeting a younger, louder crowd. None of it created a new identity. It just erased the old one. And here is where the $2.1 billion problem crystallized. That figure, reported as the carrying value MGM has assigned to the Luxor and Mandalay Bay, combined on its own books, represents the gap between what the properties are worth and what they cost to maintain, improve, and operate. The Luxor pulls in far less revenue per square foot than any other MGM property on the Strip. Its average daily room rate sits well below neighbors like Vidara or even Excalibur. Occupancy fills up, but only because the price is low enough to guarantee bodies in beds. It is not profitable in the way a luxury resort is profitable. It is profitable the way a budget motel is profitable, on volume and low expectations. Guests arrive today and find rooms that feel dated. The carpet shows its age. The views inside the atrium, once a breathtaking novelty, now feel dim and slightly tired. The casino floor operates, but quietly. The energy that once made Luxor feel alive, that sense that you were inside something unlike anything else on Earth, is mostly gone. What replaced it is not luxury. It is not even a clear brand. It is just cheap. Every night, without fail, the beam fires up. At exactly dusk, 315 xenon bulbs snap on inside the tip of the pyramid, and that column of white light punches straight into the sky above Las Vegas. It costs $51 every single hour to run. It pulls in so many insects that bats and owls have developed feeding patterns around it, a miniature ecosystem built on the byproduct of a hotel's marketing decision. Pilots flying over Nevada still call it out as a landmark, and the guests sleeping inside the rooms directly below it, they booked their stay for $29, and some of them are posting on Reddit asking why the shower pressure is weak. That gap between the grandeur of the beam and the reality of the $29 room is Luxor's whole story in a single image. MGM has never fully committed to fixing the Luxor, and it is never fully committed to letting it go. In 2019, the company sold the real estate itself to a group called VC Properties in a sale-lease-back deal, meaning MGM no longer even owns the ground the pyramid sits on. It just pays rent to operate there. Selling the real estate raised cash, but it also locked MGM into a building it cannot easily walk away from and does not fully control. The pyramid is too recognizable to quietly demolish. The beam is too famous to turn off. And the cost of a true transformation, one that could genuinely compete with the Aria Towers gleaming just a short walk north, remains staggeringly high. So the Luxor drifts. It fills its rooms because the price is right. It keeps the beam on because turning it off would make the news. It runs its casino quietly, without the energy or the foot traffic that a prime location strip resort enjoys. Families with tight budgets pick it. Bachelor parties that blew their budget on the first 2 nights migrate to it. First-time Vegas visitors who booked months out land there and discover slowly that the pyramid shape does not come with pyramid-level magic anymore. Here is the final irony. The Luxor still draws your eye. Drive down Las Vegas Boulevard on any clear night, and that beam pulls your attention before anything else. The pyramid still looks, from the outside, like something worth stopping for. It still photographs beautifully. It still appears in the background of 1,000 Instagram posts and movie establishing shots. The outside still promises the same thing it promised in 1993, that this is something extraordinary. The inside just cannot back that promise up anymore. So, here is the question worth sitting with. Is the Luxor a sleeping giant, one bold decision away from reclaiming its place as the most iconic resort on the Strip? Or has the window already closed, and is it now simply too far gone to be anything more than the cheapest room in the most famous building in Las Vegas? Let us know what you think in the comments. And if you want more stories about how Vegas built its legends and lost them, subscribe, and we will see you next time.